Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You're watching the Tesla Q3 2024 earnings call, next on In Depth.
I think that this is the first earnings call where it's kind of come out that Elon doesn't really want to be running a regular car company anymore.
I think you're right.
Look, Tesla is going to start selling autonomous cars.
Whether you like it or not.
They're already selling autonomous cars or cars that will be capable of autonomy, but someday they're going to make autonomous cars. I shouldn't say sell because they might not sell them to anybody.
That's true. And he did give an update that we're going to talk about in a few minutes about when that's going to happen, of when the cars are what he thinks are going to be fully autonomous. But you're right. It's kind of like when you go to school and you do book reports for years, right? And after you get out of school, it's the last thing you want to talk about is, right? Hey, want to write a book report? You've learned the skills in school on how to write your own book, and you're excited about writing your own book about life, not just doing book reports. And I think Elon's tired of producing regular cars. If he's going to make a regular car again, it's going to be the Roadster. Otherwise, he wants to be talking about autonomous cars entirely. And so this kind of leads me to that question that we saw from Say, and these are like the top 10 Say questions. And the number 2 question was, when can we expect Tesla to give us the $25,000 non-robotaxi regular car model? And he said,
we're not making a non-robotaxi model.
The future is autonomous. He said, my strong belief is that this will be obvious in retrospect. The future is autonomous vehicles. And so just like horses are unusual today, you don't generally see them walking around, that'll be the same thing with non-autonomous cars. He thinks it's blindingly obvious. And he said, basically, to be clear, there will be no Cybercab that has a steering wheel and pedals. So if you had that stuck in your head, well, I'll just wait for that car. No, there is no Model 2 like in the traditional Model 3 sense.
It's dead.
It's dead.
There is no Dana. There is only a zoo.
If you want that car, it's a Model 3.
And this is exactly what we're talking about here. I think that this is like people asking Steve Jobs, oh, what kind of keyboard are you going to have on your iPhone?
And that's me, honestly. I thought that all smartphones in the future would look like BlackBerries. And I was wrong.
And hardly anyone could predict that we would have smartphones that look the way that they do. Because
how do you get the data in without a keyboard?
Right. And it's like, but it won't feel like this, and it won't do this, and it won't do that, and blah, 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 blah. It'll get dirty, blah, blah, blah. Has it ever come up that you've ever gone like, oh, need a keyboard? No, not really. We've all adopted the smartphone without a keyboard.
Well, and here's the other part. When you answer some of these questions, when he gets deep into it, I know that it seems like he's gone off topic, but I want you to pay attention here. He said the hardest part about Tesla is that you'd have to copy the factory. You know, you're not just copying the car. Like the Cybercab, the hard part about the Cybercab is also the production of it is going to be so much faster. And basically he said it's going to be half an order of magnitude better than other car lines. Half an order of magnitude, so 5 times better. So if you were tasked with that today at VW or Ford to make your car lines 5 times faster or better or cheaper, you couldn't do it.
And another point in this call said that basically there are no profitable EV companies besides Tesla.
Not even any profitable EV lines or departments. So if you think of, the Model E over at Ford, they can't do it profitably. I mean, I just want to mention that if you look at the stats, I believe the average that Tesla is making per car is $8,600. Think about any other electric car that you see on the road. They're very likely losing money on that car. That's absolutely incredible.
I know that normally we're talking about like, oh, let's talk about their profit numbers. Let's talk. It doesn't matter anymore. Okay.
It really doesn't.
Tesla at this point in time is simply a launch pad for the next part of their company. And you might be going like, what? I care so much about the numbers and I care about the... Stop thinking that way. Tesla has built themselves a nice launching platform to make autonomous electric vehicles. And Tesla has done this before. Okay, if you're like, what? Tesla's no longer this sort of company and they're changing? The Model S was never going to revolutionize electric transportation. If all Tesla sold was Model S's and Model X's, the world of electric mobility would remain roughly the same as it did back in 2010.
Just like Lucid and Rivian today.
It wasn't going to make the big dent. The big dent came from the Model 3 and the Model Y. And the Model 3 and the Model Y could not have happened unless the Model S and the Model X were successful and created a small platform for Tesla to build and then create the Model 3 and then the Model Y. What the Model 3 and the Model Y have done has created a very nice, stable launching pad for Tesla to spend an ungodly amount of money on figuring out how to make autonomous vehicles possible. Now that they have done that, and they are very close, it seems that they are very close. I have a car that can drive me around, and most of the time, I don't have to do anything. That hasn't happened before in history. No other car company has done this. Even companies that are supposedly fully autonomous, they don't have the ability, even if they are successful, to do what Tesla's going to do, and that is to make the cars cheaper. So there's so many different aspects all coming together. I just want to show you this chart. This is what Tesla is spending money on.
Yeah, this is annual research and development going back to 2013.
And normally all we talk about with Tesla is what they are earning. What's the revenue? What's the profit? This is what they have been spending. And so take a look at that yellow part of the bar. That is research and development. Now, that has been a big chunk of what Tesla's been spending money on this whole time, but look how big it is now.
Yeah, that's just the first 3 quarters of 2024 at the very last column there. What are they spending?
They are spending $4.36 billion.
Just this year so far.
Just in the last 3 quarters. That is more than what they spent in 2019. That is more than what they spent in 2018, just overall. That is the most insane part of this to me, and the part that everyone's going to miss, because everyone's going to go, well, of course costs are going to go up. That's their research and development. It has been scaling as the company has been growing. That's the crazy part, and that's the part that everyone's going to miss because they don't understand how clusters work. There were 2 analysts on this call. One of them was Pierre Ferragu from New Street Research, and he asked about Tesla's data cluster, and he didn't know what he was talking about, and Elon had to school him on it. Nobody understands what is going on at Tesla when it comes to full self-driving.
Yeah, it's not an LLM.
It's not OpenAI. You can't compare it to OpenAI, but that's all we know about. That's all that the analysts even can think about, and that was like a forward-reaching question for him. They don't know any of this stuff. And that's the crazy part.
You know what's interesting is one of their biggest constraints right now is that the cars don't up enough for them to get data. So actually, that's their biggest weak point, is that the cars are so good now driving on their own that they have to wait miles and miles for a car to screw up so that they can go, oh, that's not how it should work.
And then fix that point. And then once they fix that, then the car has to go even further. And so they're no longer compute constrained. That usually was the problem, is they had all these miles of data and all of these mistakes that the cars were making, and you had to tell a computer, hey, this was a mistake, you should have done this. Here's a mistake, you should have done this. Now we're getting further and further. That's telling you that we're actually getting to the point where these cars are going to be able to autonomously drive.
One of the things that came out during the call was that Tesla's already basically doing a ride-sharing program in the Bay Area. So they're just letting Tesla employees use it, but they're testing it. They're getting the app right. They're getting everything right. They've been doing it all year. So they are really ready for when next year happens. And it sounds like they're looking for Q2 of next year, maybe Q3, when basically they say the cars should get better, safer than humans. When that day happens, I think they're going to turn on some ride sharing in California and definitely in Texas.
Yeah, we got a little bit more information about California versus Texas. California, there's far more regulatory restrictions. Texas sounds like it's a done deal.
And Elon said he wishes that the federal government would just pass a law making the whole country, autonomous able. I don't think that'll ever happen. But Elon said when he becomes, the head of the efficiency department, that maybe he would be able to do something like that.
So yeah, this to me...
It's a different earnings call.
It's a different earnings call. From the 1010 event, we get to see that is the future that Tesla is imagining. They don't want to sell you a car anymore. And I want to bring it back to this Say question. This was Say question number 3, which I think that honestly, Elon did a terrible job of answering, and so did everybody else on the team. The third question, these are voted. So this is the third question that all Tesla shareholders want to know.
Yeah, 2,500 votes, 1.2 million shares wanted this question answered.
What is Tesla doing to alleviate long waiting times on service centers? And they acted like there was no problem whatsoever. They said, oh, we just want to focus to make sure that the cars never break, which is a foolish thing to say, in my opinion, because the cars are going to go out on the road and people are going to beat them up.
But what I understood from the answer to this was they're ahead of us on this. They don't care about us because they aren't going to sell cars to us pretty soon. We've said this for years. We've said eventually Tesla will stop selling cars to us and they will be a network. So they will be incentivized to solve these problems. Right now, as long as you're happy enough that you'll buy their car, they're not going to get much better. That's what I read from this answer.
Because right now, if you have a service problem, yes, it can take weeks for you to actually get your car in for service. And they can talk all about how it's great, then they can solve all sorts of problems remotely.
Well, Elon even gave it
software.
away. He said they want big service centers. Why would you want that? Because normally a big service center means it's hundreds of miles from you. You like to go down the street and get your car fixed. Tesla wants big service centers because they won't worry about you anymore because no one will own the car but them. We owners are just means to that end. And I know that might make you angry, but that's, I think, the whole plan here is, hey, we can't afford to do this from day one. Right. You're going to have to buy our cars.
And this is why Tesla's service was pretty good in the beginning and then actually was amazing in the beginning. And then it kind of petered off. It's because, if you kind of know that these customers you're not going to have to worry about very soon, it changes the whole idea of it. And that's why Tesla has always been kind of disincentivized of giving great service. They've only been incentivized to give affordable service for Tesla because quality service normally is like, oh, they gave me quality service, I'm going to go buy that car again. Tesla has a monopoly on selling Teslas, right? So if you wanted to go, oh, I'm going to go buy something else, let me see, I could get a Mach-E. You're not going to go do that. Most people don't. And so they can be as unhappy as they want at a service center. They're still going to buy a Tesla.
Question number 5 is, when will Tesla incorporate X and Grok in all of the Tesla vehicles? And, I was thinking about this. They have no incentive to do that yet either, because when you're in the car driving, you can't use these things very much.
Right.
He wants to give you this the day he gives you Cybercab, because then you'll have even more incentive to just go have fun in a Cybercab, because X and Grok are fun to do and not while you're driving.
And so he called these things relatively small fry things. And I mean, I do agree with him. It does bug me because I want to have all these fun stuff in my car. But pretty soon it's not going to be my car. But I'm going to be spending way more time messing around on the screen in the robo car.
And so I guess I agree with you, Jess. I mean, we could spend a lot of time on charts and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter anymore. Tesla's doing great. They have plenty of cash. It really doesn't matter what they earned on selling Model 3s or how many fewer or more they sold. They had a great quarter, but what matters is the future. And if you see that, as you do on our investor club, I mean, if you head on over to patreon.com to support us, we have an investor club there where we talk about these big things every week. And if you get it, you see that Tesla is heading big, big places.
Because any other car company on earth would be like, we need more models. Right. We need to have so that way this kind of person can get their kind of special little car. Tesla doesn't need to do that. What they're going to do is, and so that nobody can understand. It's a car. Oh, I'm a car analyst, and the Cybertruck doesn't make any sense to me, and neither does the robo-taxi is going to eat everybody's lunch.
Yep.
As soon as because it's not affordable for me to take an Uber every day, right? What happens when it is? What happens when that's cheaper than you owning a car?
Yep.
And it's way more convenient because you don't have to worry about parking. Isn't it really fun when your friend drops you off at the airport? Doesn't it suck when you have to go park and then you come back home and it's $300 in parking fees? You go, oh, I wish my friend had driven me to the airport. That's what this will be all the time. That is what we have to get through our thick skulls because this has not happened yet.
Yes.
Before the wheel was invented, we didn't use the wheel. Before electricity was invented, we didn't use electricity. And nobody went, hey, gee, why is no one using electricity? Hey, I've noticed that round things tend to roll. Why aren't we using this for transporting things? Nobody came up with it until somebody did. Tesla is the company that is going to invent robotaxi cars. Yep. And nobody is going to get it until they are sitting in one.
Right, which I think is why the 1010 event was so big. So many people's brains kind of went, oh.
And it's time to start thinking about it, folks. We're going to be talking a lot more about this on Disruptive Investing, and especially over on Patreon and our Investor Club. So we hope to see you there. We'll see you guys next time.
Now you know.